My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts.
This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. And I don't know about Facebook Live tonight. Only got 20 viewers. How is that? 19. It's going down. I don't know how that is, but listen, it's probably censorship. We're going to talk about YouTube and how YouTube is censoring, and Google. Google's a part of this. So we're going to talk about that to begin with. And then we're going to talk about the rest of this nonsense, like Jim Acosta raising his head again there in Washington, D.C., in the White House. Besides getting ratings, I'm not sure exactly why they allow Jim Acosta and any of these people still to be in the White House. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it is what it is. You know, it's interesting, folks. The more I speak out truth, the more my numbers go down. That could be one of two things. Either people aren't interested in the truth, or those who provide these open forums where it's supposedly free speech, they're the ones that are actually blocking people from signing up. So I'm not sure which one it is. Let's talk about it. So make sure that you're sharing the show. I think what I'll do right now, I'm going to back out of here for just a second. Now I'm going to put out a post. I don't know, people aren't getting notified that this show is up and running. So let me just see if a post goes out there. Let's see here. All right, the show is on. Come join. Let me finish this here. And bam. So we'll see. See if that helps. Numbers are going up a little bit, but we have some important topics we want to cover tonight. Good to see that at least Twitter is putting out the notifications. So here's the deal, folks. I was wondering, trying to figure out where I'm going to put things in order tonight, and I thought, you know what, after going over, I think my chair is sinking, by the way, but I think it's time for me to get a new chair. So I read a story. Somebody sent me this story that was about, I know it was written in Breitbart, and that's going to make a lot of liberals mad, but Google is quoted in this, and I think Google owns YouTube now. I'm not exactly sure if they own them or if they're in partnership with them. And basically, what they're saying is, in a nutshell, that it doesn't matter if you say hate speech or if you say things that go outside of the parameters in which they set for hate speech. Doesn't really matter, because what they're going to do is they're going to monitor for anybody that they deem radical, either religiously or however else they're going to define radical. And I can guarantee you, because the people that they have looking into this are activists on the left, they're not going to be saying that good Christians or conservatives are just out there, spreading their gospel or their word, and they shouldn't be censored. They're going to go straight after people like myself and others that come on. I can guarantee you, Facebook and Google does it already. We know they do it with their search engines. We know Facebook does it with their search engines. Go type in Donald Trump on these search engines. Type in Donald or just D and see what happens. You type in H or Hillary, and Hillary Clinton comes up automatically. So it's they're already censoring. And this is, out of all the things that are going on in this country, and this is what I wanted to point out tonight, which is why I wish the numbers were higher. If you haven't shared, make sure that you share this on Facebook. Make sure you retweet it on Twitter. I mean, literally, we should have 55 retweets right now, instantly. Bam. If you're not on Twitter and you're just on Periscope, why not join Twitter? And that way you can be a part of the whole movement on Twitter and the voice on Twitter. Go figure, I get something in my eye right when I start. So basically, what we're seeing here, folks, is I'm absolutely sure that it's in collusion. I love that word. We use that word now more than we've ever used it in our lifetimes. And I think that politicians are in collusion. Absolutely, they're in collusion with Silicon Valley. I think that they're in collusion with Google and YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. Absolutely working with those people to basically censor without quote-unquote censoring. So they'll do it because they say that they're wanting to protect certain people, but the reality is they don't really care about the people they're trying to protect. They're more concerned with limiting the speech of the people that are saying either the truth or the things that they don't want to hear, so that it's not a part of their narrative. Now, I've been, of all places, I've been going back and forth. I'm actually quite enjoying this, although I wish it wasn't on LinkedIn, because that's where it's at on LinkedIn, with liberals that are spreading just nonsense all over LinkedIn. And all of them, I've asked them, come on the show, we'll have you on the show, and I'll give you an open mic, and you can say whatever you feel is appropriate. However, you have to back it up with facts that aren't derived from a narrative provided by mainstream media, and you have to show us that you have some type of expertise in the field in which you're pontificating about. And so far, we haven't gotten anything. So you think that maybe America is a problem, that cause of trouble in this world? Do I think America is the problem? No, I don't think America is the problem. I'll tell you what I think is the problem. Globalists. That's the problem. Look, this is spread all over the world. It's not just America. It's been growing in America, but because we're a superpower. But it's not America. It's not the Constitution. It's not the Founding Fathers. It is people like the Bushes, people like the Clintons, people like Reince Priebus or Paul Ryan. And I'm just talking about Republicans. Let's look at the Democrats. You got the Clintons. You got Nancy Pelosi. You got all these people who've been in Congress and the Senate for 30 years. And basically, they rarely show up for work. They're really like kings and queens. They just go around and say, kill this person, or, squash this policy, or, give these paupers money or not. And then they get themselves reelected and they stay a part of this ruling class. I mean, the reality is getting reelected in some places is just as easy as them putting their name back on the ballot, because they're so powerful, nobody's going to run against them. And the Republican Party is 100% behind them. The Republican Party won't give money to other people. So, I don't know who this Daryl guy is. I think he's been a problem before. But globalism is not capitalism, and the corporate world is not the same thing. But they do work together. And here's the problem. Most of these people at the top of these huge companies, and I'll explain to you why you can't just say a blanket statement like that. Sam Walton was not a globalist, and Sam Walton was not a... He was not one of these people who could care less about whether or not the country prospers. He created something that, whether you like Walmart or not, he created something that has provided millions of jobs, that has provided lower prices for products that everybody always talks about, these small hometown companies being put out by Walmart, but they charge too much money to begin with in their little mom and pop stores. Walmart came in and made things affordable for people that don't have a lot of money. Now, exactly, somebody just said on there, Sam Walton's family, yeah, they're globalists. I hate to tell you, he had one son that was a special forces operator. I think he may be dead. Another daughter that is basically an alcoholic. I don't know what she does, but by and large, it may not. Yeah, the kids are, I would say, are globalists, but definitely those who are in charge of Walmart, Target, and all these other places, they're definitely globalists. And here's the problem: You can't say capitalism is bad. Capitalism in and of itself is not bad. It's the people who continue to monopolize the system and stay just a smidge ahead of the law, or in the cases of politicians, people like Wall Street people are in bed with the politicians, and they manipulate the laws. Like, they won't change something. You know, they say for the longest time, this is up until, I don't know, it was like 5 years ago, it was not illegal for congressmen and senators to commit insider trading. They would go and have meetings with all these big, huge .com people and Wall Street people, and then they would be behind closed doors, part of the intelligence committee or one of these other finance committees, and then they would walk out there, make a call to their stockbroker, and basically trade on the information that they know that nobody else knows. Now it's a letter of censure. That's all it is. So even though they get a letter of censure, they can still build their portfolio and get very, very rich based on doing what's best for these Wall Street and these big business people. It's not capitalism. It's not the quest to make a great company and to make money in free market enterprise. That's not at fault. It's nefarious human creatures. That's what's at fault. And we can't fault the system. It's not the system that we have here. We have a great system. We have a great constitution. It's the nefarious people that have gotten themselves to the top and now want to utilize it for their own nefarious organized crime and communist ideologies. And when I look at what YouTube is doing, when they say that they're going to censor people outside of their guidelines if they feel that they are radical, or if they feel like that for some reason they're causing hate on other people, then they're going to censor that. And Facebook has done the same thing in a lot of ways. They've censored people, and I still think Viral Hog is in cahoots with them. You know, and whatever happened there back when they said they own the sound of the wind, that was very strange. There's a lot of strange things about, and I know Facebook is a business, and I know YouTube is a business, but they are led by people who have strong political stances. Same thing with Starbucks, and even though I really like their coffee, well, I think he may, I don't know if he's still the CEO, but he's an activist, a leftist activist. The head of Amazon is a leftist activist. What are we supposed to do? That's the question I'm having tonight, because this is what keeps going around and around in my mind. These people, like CNN and Fox News and Amazon and Target and the Wall Street Journal, well, maybe the Wall Street Journal, but definitely the Washington Post, New York Times. I could go on and on about all these people. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Here's what I'm starting to realize, folks. We're barking up the wrong tree. We need to work on politics and voting the wrong people out and voting the right people in. And that's going to happen where, you know, they spend all these billions and billions of dollars, literally billions of dollars, on getting people reelected. I literally think with a grassroots campaign, as excited as I saw people when I was in D.C. last Friday or Saturday, and I'm still getting messages from people, I think that the people could literally band together. I think they could do it. The two-party system is a disaster. Yes, you are correct. The two-party system was never meant to be. Our first president, George Washington, said, don't do it. But other people did it because they felt as though it was a better way. I don't know what their motivation was, but I'm sure a lot of people believe that it's better to have these two parties where people can gravitate to one side or the other. And basically, they are able to make sure everybody can hear me. I thought somebody said they couldn't hear me. And basically, they're giving people a platform so they have like ideas. See, here's where we're going wrong with these political parties. Ideas of how things work quite often, and we don't need it. See, I don't need a third party. I don't think we need a third party. What we need is the American people to be unified. And we need the American people to say that we need effective decisions. We need effective thinkers. And there's a lot of effective thinkers in this country. By and large, with the 2-year term for congressman and the 6-year term for senator and the 4-year term for the president, we have enough people in this country that are very good at figuring out how to fix things. We could probably supply enough true leaders to these offices for the rest of our existence and never have to go back to a two-party system. We don't need it. There's no need. We have a two-party system because just like the Jews when they were in the desert and God was walking with them, and I always talk about the Jewish people because I believe that's where my heritage comes from. And also, I think God chose them because they're the perfect example of the best a human can be and the worst that a human being can be. I think when the Jews are walking with God, there's no more powerful force on the earth. But when they turn their back on him, then it's the opposite direction. It's a very destructive force for the world. And I believe that the American people are the same way. The American people want other people to fix it. They want other people to go to Washington, D.C., and they want them to take care of it so they can enjoy their days and so they can have less taxes and so that they can do this or that. And the reality is that this was all set up very similar with the Jews in the desert. It was set up so that we would come together as a people and work together so that there would never be a tyrannical government in charge. But we've literally created not a king and queen, not a monarchy. We have created kings and queens and monarchies. There's plural now, and that's actually worse. I mean, the reality is that the two almost dictators in this country is the Democratic and the Republican parties. Nothing happens without those two private companies. I can't say that enough. Two private companies that rule all things in this country. Think about this, folks. Two private companies. They own every seat of government in the United States. Every seat, local, state, federal, everything. And they determine what the laws are. Can you imagine that? Could you imagine if we put Hooters in charge and we said, you determine the laws in this country, Hooters? Thank you, Hooters. Let's elect Hooters. Anybody Hooters for government. Look, I'm being silly, but that's the truth. There's probably more perverts in Washington, D.C. right now than have ever worked for Hooters. So what I'm trying to say here is that we have resigned ourselves to putting people in office with the hope and expectation that they'll just take care of it all. And it doesn't work. We weren't meant to work that way. We have a constitution that basically sets everything in motion. It has been altered a few times for the right reasons, and it's been altered a few times, as Michael Jack talked about once here a couple of weeks ago, for the wrong reasons. We don't have term limits. We don't have where the congressmen are representatives of the states anymore. They're literally federal employees now. And that's the problem, is that we don't have state representation in the federal government, and the federal government basically does whatever it wants. But here's the reality, folks. I tried to explain this to somebody the other day, is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Even if they gave it back to the states, the problem is the two-party system. Because even if the congressmen were representing the states, they still they're beholden to the Democrat or Republican parties. So you see, that's where we're all jacked up here. It's not capitalism. It's not the free market. It's not the people in the Republican Party. I can't say that about the Democratic Party because I do believe, and if you're liberal and this offends you, I recommend that you prove me otherwise. Republicans, conservatives, are much less likely to follow the establishments and establishment members of the Republican Party blindly. And on the other side, Democrats, by and large, will follow whatever the party platform is, and they don't question it. That's why they don't argue. That's why they're unified. That's why they're gaining the youthful groups. and because they know how to go into a college and unify people. Whereas, conservatives by and large remind me of the old Bible preachers. I'm a Christian, but they remind me of the old Bible preachers where they used to stand up and scream and holler and tell everybody why they're a sinner. Well, that's, it's kind of hard to win people over to God when you're sitting there yelling at people and telling them why they're bad. It's better to bring them in and say, this is why you're good. This is why you were created. This is why your God loves you. And this is how you make sure that you're with that guy that loves you that much and created you for the rest of eternity. That's why you win somebody over. I'm sure some people could be bullied into it, but by and large, the Democratic Party doesn't deal with that. They deal with people saying, you're worth something, you're good, it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter if you're transgender, it doesn't matter if you're what color you are, you're welcome here, but you should hate those people, and you should constantly look out because you're being discriminated against. That's what they do. That's what they do. They work at bringing people in and making sure they realize that there's a division in the country. The Republicans don't do that. Republicans by and large don't try to divide people, but they don't really do anything on the whole. I mean, there's great people in the Republican that are conservatives in the Republican Party that aren't establishment members that do great things. And unification, like we saw last Saturday, of conservatives and people who love the country, that's a great thing. I would rather see a stadium filled with people who say they're liberal and people who say they're conservative, and we just get to know each other and say, forget this hate and forget this nonsense about I'm right and you're wrong, and let's first of all, let's unify. Let's say, okay, whatever, your skin is dark and mine's light, and you're of this religion, I'm of that religion, and blah blah blah, whatever. We're not going to look at special interests. We're just going to look at can we come up with realistic solutions? Can we first of all get to know each other and say, I don't agree with, like maybe there's a straight cake or pizza maker and there's, somebody who's gay and wants to get married. They could sit down and say, you know what? I'm straight and I make pizzas and I don't agree with the way you want to live your life, and I'm not going to make pizza for you. And the gay person could say, okay, that's fine. We'll go to another place and give him our business. And the straight, pizza maker could say, you know what? But I don't hate you. I have no reason to hate you. You seem like a good person. And they could say, well, you seem like a good person. Or even better would be if the people that were gay and getting married, if the pizza person said, and I'm going to give some criticism here. If they said, you know what? It's not my place to judge. I'm a Christian, but Lord himself told us that you're not the judge. He's the judge. You're the person that's supposed to go out and spread the word. And knowing that, if the pizza person said, you know what, I'm going to make your pizzas for you. And God bless you guys. You two dudes are great. Whatever. But the thing I'm getting at here is I'm not trying to solve the gay straight problem, but America has to put these ridiculous things to the side. And I know people take that very seriously and they say, I'm a Christian and God says it is an abomination and this and that. He also says it's not your place to judge, and you should be able to sit down with people and talk to them. And the other way around. If you're gay, and whether you believe in God or not, it's, we've got equal rights for everybody. You should be trying to maintain the civility in this country so we can all have a great place to live. You should be concerned with the degradation and the downfall of the inner city. It's never gotten any better. The inner city's been around for hundreds of years, for 200 years, and they still have not fixed the inner city. I think it's fixable. And I think people, no matter what your sexuality or gender or whatever it is, you should be willing to sit down, excuse me, and sit down, and you should be willing. Somebody just asked me, when did the abomination become unforgivable, though? I don't know. It's not my job to forgive, so I'm not worried about it. I don't get involved with that stuff. Everybody has to walk their walk with God, and I don't get involved with other people's walks unless they ask me. If they say, listen, I see the way you're living. You're a guy who's done a whole bunch of stuff, and you've gone over and you've done all these different things. And how do you feel about this? What do you feel about that? I'll tell them how I feel. I'll tell them about my faith. I have no problem with that. But this isn't I'm not doing a story on faith here. What I'm trying to get at is, first thing we need to do is sit down with each other and get to know each other. Put these ridiculous arguments that we have and the division aside, because that's all created. The second thing we need to do as a whole is realize that, hey, you may know something that I don't know, and I may know something that you don't know. But if you don't know it, don't go on social media and argue about it. Don't sit like I had dinner once with these fine people who had a crazy daughter who was part of these Wall Street protesters, rich, girls rich as can be, and one of the nastiest human beings I've ever met in my life. And on Christmas dinner, she wanted to talk about how Jesus wasn't real and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And well, this is what I told her. I think this is a good time to tell you that. I say this all the time, and I've worked on a meme for this, and I've said this in speeches. This is what I told her, because I'm trying to connect with her somehow, some way, so we could set aside the disagreements. It was not possible with her, but this is what I told her, and I recommend anybody, if you get in an argument with an atheist, this is what you tell them. You say, listen, if I hold you underwater, what do you fight for? Anybody? You can say, you can type it in. What if I hold you underwater and you struggle for air, what do you fight me for? Let's see if somebody gets it. It's one word. Well, you fight for life. You fight for air. Okay, you're fighting for air. All right. If I march you through the desert, and I don't give you any water, you got plenty of air, but I don't give you any water. Right? What do you long for? You long for water because you're dying of thirst. You're literally dying. You're dehydrating. If I rob you of food and I don't give you any food, I give you water and I give you air, but I don't give you any food. After, I don't know, it's like 30 days, I think some people can go for beer. Somebody said, what do you long for? You long for food. You will literally, I remember watching an episode about people who were in concentration camps in World War II, and they said that all they thought about was food. Now, I can only think, I was only in Ranger School for 62 days, but we were starved in Ranger School. You eat an average of once a day, slept an average of 2 hours a day. So I thought about food the way an 18-year-old thinks about sex. I mean, food was always in my brain. We would sit there and talk about Outback Steakhouse and that delicious bread that they have and the butter, and we described the food. But here's the point that I was trying to make with her is I said, when a human being is dying and they're on their deathbed or they've been shot and their guts are hanging out because they're in battle, what do you think that they cry out for? And this girl's an atheist, by the way. What do you think they cry out for? They don't cry out for water. They don't cry out for food or air, which are instinctual things, right? They cry out for God. Sometimes they cry out for their mom, but ultimately they cry out for God. They cry out for God. I've been, I've been next to people when they were dying, and they cry out for God. That's because it's an instinctual thing inside of us to seek the person, the creature, the being, not person, but seek the being that created us and to know him and to be close to him. That's the truth. You can always tell people that that are atheists that. But where am I going with all this stuff? And listen, I go all the way. I'm worse than Trump sometimes. I go all the way around the world just to get to the same place. Here's what I'm getting at is that we should be able to sit down and have this conversation without yelling, without the division. The fact that we just show up to know each other, and then once we get all that stuff out of the way, we should be able to say, okay, how long has this country been going on where the inner city hasn't been cleaned up? About 200 years. Why? Is it that hard to clean it up? Is it that hard to force the people that work there to maintain a set of standards of cleanliness? And then maybe we give them a break because we all pay taxes. Give them a break on their water bill, or give them a break on something else, as long as they maintain that stuff. And if they can't maintain it, we force them out of inner city. The inner city, it doesn't have to be a place where rich people live. Poor people can live there. But poverty, I grew up poor. Poverty does not dictate cleanliness. If you have water and you have love in your family, you're going to be a clean person. And if if you have something that's happened and you're downtrodden, you're poor, or your parents just don't have good jobs, that's when the government can step in and say, you know what, let's have some standards here. These people are working. They're just not, their jobs and their careers just aren't giving them enough money in order to feed their family. Maybe we could sit down and talk to them about birth control so they don't have any more kids. But by and large, let's try to help them out and get moving here. But nobody does that. Nobody says that. So if we all got together, the people got together, and we started looking for effective solutions, and we started pushing people forward and electing people and getting excited about this, what we would see is we would steal the power from the Democratic and Republican parties. But the other thing that has to happen, and I think it's the real thing that the American people can do very effectively, is we can go after, and I'll say it because I'm on all three of their networks right now, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We can go after them, and we can spotlight, and we can make sure that it's shown. We can put the pressure on CNN and Fox News and One American News and Newsmax and the New York Times and Huffington Post, and I could go on and on. We can put the pressure on them to show these articles, to inform people. But really, I think Trump really shows us exactly what we can do. If I tweet something and 10,000 people retweet it, that is just as powerful as any of these smaller networks that you see. It's not like, look, I turned on my Fios app, there's a thing you can go on and see how many people are watching a particular show at any given time. And you know that's what the TV CEOs and stuff, that's what they look at. They look at those type of apps. It all comes from those boxes that you have in your TVs. And so they'll know. That's why if 10,000 people, they see Tommy Lahren on TV and 10,000 people change the channel, the executives are going to go, yeek, Tommy Lahren ain't such a big hit anymore. But, you know, people don't do that because they put the TV on in the background. But I've gone on and I've watched and I've looked on my app and seen that, 50,000 people are watching CNN, at any given time. Well, these tweets, when somebody does, I should have several million people that are following me on Twitter. Not because I don't ever want to be one of these people that everybody clings to as the leader. But if people want to make me the conduit, then I'll be the conduit. But what happens is somebody tells me you should tweet this, and I say, yeah, you know what, I should, and I tweet that, it should be retweeted 1 million times. If we started to do that together as a group, folks, we could circumvent the news to the point where eventually maybe we could start our own network where we don't have to worry about that stuff, where the people can be informed. I believe we need a network called We the People. I think we need not a political party. I just think the people need to get together and solve problems. All these things are doable. You just have to look at it tactically. You have to look at it in a strategic picture. And then you have to pick your battles and go in there tactically and solve each problem. So I wish I could convince everybody that this is not as hard as you think. It's just the hardest thing about it is getting the American people together. I'm shocked at how little people want to participate. And I'm not shocked about that, but I don't think people realize how incredibly fun going into a battle situation actually is. The fight is so fun. I'm not talking about going and shooting stuff. I'm talking about get in the fight, man. Get together. Let's organize. Let's do this. Let's strategize. Let's beat down this divisiveness that the Democratic Party and communists and fundamental Muslims have just pressed. Yes, I said fundamental Muslims because the Muslim Brotherhood is on board with the communist movement, and they work this whole thing. They're not just concerned about Islam issues. They're involved with all kinds of stuff. And let me tell you something. On that note, we've got another problem in the White House, and that's McMaster is a real problem. He's firing people left and right in the National Security Council, and he's a Muslim apologist. And I think from my sources, Bannon and Trump know about this, and I'm having problems with this. This is that guy should never have been appointed to that office. But, you know, like I said, I'm going to point out what I think is President Trump's bad habits, as well as his what I think is good. And I think one of his bad habits is that he likes big, shiny, expensive things, and generals are big, shiny, expensive things, and he likes that. And unfortunately, he has not succumbed to the truth that generals are politicians, and they play the game. And many of them have huge special interests that they protect until they get into a position where they can flex their muscles. And that's McMaster, and that's what he's doing. And that's a problem. So, let me just get back to real quick for what I was saying there. Yeah, he's OCD about control. He needs to be fired. Let me finish at this point, and then I'm going to go into that, because we're also going to talk about the new FBI director. I'm going to end this segment with this, folks. I've been doing this show now for over a year. I've given tons of speeches all over the country. If you want me to come speak somewhere, you get enough people together, and we can get the funds straightened out, I'll come there. You know, when I went to Ohio, they took an offering. They didn't offer me money to be there. They took an offering, the 912 group, and Norma and her group, I forgot where we were there, Norma, but they all took offerings, and they paid for the trip. All right, so if we get enough people together, I always say the same thing about my GoFundMe page. If we had 10,000 people give $20, we'd fund this show for the rest of the year. So we need to realize this. I mean, just think about this, folks. If we packed a stadium with 30,000 people, I'm not a mathematician. Somebody can figure this out by the time I get it done. Let's say we got 30,000 people. I don't know how many people are going to these Trump rallies. Let's say we got 30,000 people in a stadium. Gay, straight, women, men, liberal, conservative, whatever, Christians, Jews. We got them in there. Okay? Let's say we got them in there. And we all talked, we all unified, we all started talking about effectiveness, and we said, you know what, there's a couple of candidates that are not, they don't belong to the party. We need to figure this out. We need to get at least this many candidates into office so that we can begin the process of demolishing the Democratic and Republican parties, all right? So we have 30,000 people there. And we say, okay, 30,000 people. And we would say this before. We want you to come prepared to make an offering. But we want everybody to come prepared with $100. You're going to make an offering, and we're going to put it towards backing the candidates that want to run, that don't have a party and don't have money. And so 30,000 people times 100. That's a lot of money, folks. That's just 30,000 people. Imagine if we did that several times. We literally would be able to set up a super PAC. I don't know how this stuff works, where if somebody says, hey, I know a person that should be in office, and we could have a committee, a group of people set up, and we look at them and say, you know what, this person's good. They understand effective thinking, and here's the rules. They can't subscribe to a political party. If they do that, we're going to yank our money and our support right out from under them, and they have to sign a clause that says that they will not run for re-election more than 2 terms. So something like that. You know, so I'm just throwing this out as I'm thinking about it. We would be able, this country would be able to fund these people. We'd be able to do it. But unfortunately, the people that typically get involved with those types of things are politically minded, so they're more drawn to the Republican or the Democratic parties, and so they're not going to get involved with this stuff. That's a problem. I have no idea what you're talking about, Norma. I just see pregnancy with a question mark there. Yes, prior enlisted men and women. That's what we need, especially in government, period. All right. If you haven't shared on Facebook, make sure you're sharing. If you haven't retweeted on Twitter, make sure you retweet it. And there's only like 18 people on YouTube. I don't think YouTube's going to get that big. The good thing about it is you can send people that they say they don't have. You tell them about the show. You should watch this show. It's it's taken off, and they say, "Why don't I have YouTube or Twitter?" Say, go to YouTube. You don't have to have a YouTube account. Just type it in, the experts, Jonathan T. Gilliam, the experts, and it'll pop up there, and they can start watching it. It's that easy. All right, let's go to the A block, and we're going to talk about the new FBI director, McMaster, and some other people as well. Let's do that. Look at this. I'm going to use some of this Singer spray because I'm coughing a little. You even got to hear the squirt. That good stuff's strong. Woo! Okay. I don't know if that helped or hurt the whole subject. The new FBI director. I've been saying this since I heard his name, and I started looking at him. Christopher Wray. Christopher Wray falls in line with a succession of DOJ attorneys becoming FBI directors. I've thought about this. I've gone over it over and over and over. And yes, it's New York air that's making me cough. And I got to tell you, folks, the fix is in. I don't know who's making these suggestions to President Trump, but it's no different than the suggestions that are being made for the Department of Homeland Security. There's one guy who is an ICE, I guess he's head of ICE, and they're saying that he should be Homeland Security Director. So that one guy is up against John Pistole, who is not liked at all in the FBI. He's the one guy he's just another one of these FBI executives that shouldn't be trusted. You can't really trust anybody from the DOJ or anybody from the FBI that's an SAC and above. That's special agent in charge. I would say from the majority of these agencies. At least this guy from ICE, though, comes from within that agency. So the rest of the people that are being looked at for Director of Homeland Security, from what I could tell, have no experience in homeland security or management of the homeland. Hold on. This happens every now and then. I get verklempt. So I'm having a hard time with, at least in the FBI, with these DOJ attorneys that keep getting put in charge. And really what it boils down to, folks, is that it is a way for the politicians that are in power to manage the FBI. Because if the FBI was ran by somebody like Louis Freeh or myself or some of these hard agents that have been around for 30 years, then with this nonsense with Hillary Clinton, if that was an FBI that had been an agent that had been in charge when Comey was in charge, I can guarantee you they would have been pressing and pressing and pressing the DOJ to charge her. They would have been working with locals to charge her. But because the FBI has been ran by a succession of DOJ attorneys, you're not seeing anything but protectionism for the politicians and special interest. That's what's in the DOJ. That's what's at the top of the FBI. And now that this guy, Christopher Wray, is in charge, it's going to be more the same. Mueller jacked up the FBI, trying to turn it into an intel agency. Now it kind of makes sense why he was trying to do that for Obama. You then had Comey come in, and he was just as Clinton as could be. And then Mueller comes back as a special prosecutor, and Comey is going to get off. Comey just got like a multi-million-dollar book deal. These people don't go away, folks. They don't go away. And I got to say, it next to the Trump children and nepotism, which I don't have anything against them personally, but we have to set a standard while we're in office. And we got Trump in office. He should be setting the standard about nepotism. I don't like nepotism. I don't like them in office. And advising, that's one thing, but I don't like them going and representing the country at all, because they don't represent me. I didn't vote for them, and they're liberal. So they don't, and I'm talking globalist liberal. So they don't represent the people that voted Trump into office. They shouldn't be representing the United States of America. Well, it's the same thing with, look, I'm not gonna be nice. I don't know if you're talking about me about that. I'm not gonna be nice about that. If that's what Johnny, if that's who you're talking to, I am going to hold this president to the fire just as much as I would anybody else. A great leader should welcome that, and we voted him into office so that he could be the dam that dams up this river of corruption and communism. So I think that it's okay. Okay, I got you. It's okay to make these points and to say that we don't agree with that and you should change it. And if he doesn't change it, well, then he'll suffer the consequences. He won't get reelected in 4 years, and he will realize that he wasn't the savior that they thought he was going to be. But the point is that even though I backed Trump, and I specifically went on every radio show and TV show that I could and pointed out, you need to vote for this guy. He's the only one with operational experience and Republican or Democrat. He wasn't an establishment for either one of those. But I'm not, because I champion for him, it doesn't mean that I believe he's a messiah. We are the saviors of this country, not him. It doesn't matter if he goes through and changes everything that President Obama did. This country was not in a good place when Obama took charge, because Bush didn't do anything to make this country a great place. Clinton before him didn't do anything. Bush before him, he didn't do anything. Reagan did some good things, but overall, the Republican and Democratic parties were just as bad then. Jimmy Carter didn't do anything, and you can go on and on and on and go back. We, the people, are going to be the only ones that fix this problem. And if we continue to have FBI directors that are DOJ political appointees, which they're politicians, just because they didn't get elected, don't think that they're not. They are politicians through and through, and they want to control what the FBI investigates on a powerful level. Listen, this is what cracks me up. The Democrats and the Republicans both have railed against J. Edgar Hoover. When I was in the Bureau and we had this thing called dialogue training, the dialogue is like our Bible. It sets all our policies and stuff that we follow. They were talking about how JFK, not JFK, excuse me, Hoover had, J. Edgar Hoover had all these different people that he was looking at in these files on people that now in this day and age would be illegal. And they were saying, it was actors. It was black separatists. It was the gay rights activist movement. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, every single person that they're naming, I'm not saying anything about people with dark skin. I'm not saying anything about people who are gay. I don't care about either one of those things. Every single one of those groups that he had those secret files on were people that are now associated with the Communist Party. They're the people that were at that women's march. They're the people like Madonna who said she wants to blow up the White House. There's people like Ashley Judd who's a fruitcake. It's, all these different people. It's the people like Black Lives Matter that's a terrorist group. Tamika Mallory and Laura Sarsour. All those types of, fundamental Islamic people. That's the one group that he didn't have any files on that I know of. But what's interesting about it was that they hem and hawed about that, and they still do, but yet that's the difference between Hoover and Mueller and Comey and Christopher Wray is that Hoover was his own man. He was not beholden to the politicians because, trust me, he was watching them too, and he had files on JFK and a lot of other people. But what they realized is, let's get rid of this JFK, or this, why do I keep saying that, J. Edgar Hoover guy. We got to get rid of him because we're not protected with him in office. They got rid of him, and then the FBI directors that came after that, the same thing with the CIA directors, they became more and more political to the point where now they are literally arms of the president or the party in which they serve. They don't go against anything. They don't investigate politicians. They don't, unless somebody just does something blatantly stupid like, what's his name here from Staten Island, Grimm. You know, they don't get involved in it because they're owned by these crooked DOJ attorneys who are politicians. So, McMaster, Christopher Wray, Scaramucci. Trump's biggest problem is that he's not thinking far enough outside of the box. Everybody's happy because there's all these generals up there. Generals are one step away from, they're just politicians with military training. That's all they are. And he literally has surrounded himself. Here's the big difference about generals. They are, I mean, they're war fighters. So they're more nefarious than the politicians. Now, the politicians they're murderers and they're liars. The generals are people that know how to make strategic plans to get things done and to screw people over. That's a problem. I think this is the biggest issue that President Trump has. He doesn't go far enough outside of the box. He doesn't look at people because he likes the big shiny things. And somebody like myself and several other people, I'm not going to mention their names that I know, you know, we're not shiny. We're not going to walk in and people are going to be like, dude, that guy's got 4 stars on his shoulder. They're not going to say that about me. I don't have any stars on my shoulder. All right? I got a star in my heart. But all joking aside, I have a core set of skills and expertise that I've been trained on throughout the years, and they don't look at people like me. They look at rank. They look at how shiny they are, and that's who they put in there. And they also look at, is this person going to do what's right, or is this person going to do what I tell them? Are they going to be loyal to me politically, or are they going to be loyal to me when I step outside the box and say, we got to do this? There's loyalty that you need and loyalty that you don't need. So, somebody just asked about the wall. You know, I don't, this freaking wall. You want to give Americans jobs, let's build a wall. You want a sign that says America is unified, let's build a wall. You want something that's going to get shoved in the globalists' faces, let's build a wall. I don't even care if we fund the wall. I don't know whether or not he's going to get somebody else to pay for it. I don't care. If you fund that wall, it's going to give so many people so many jobs. And it's going to send such a statement that, I don't know. I built this one. It's not really a wall. I guess it is a wall. Look at that. That's good American steel. I think it's from America. I don't know. This probably is. Okay. All right. I think that's enough for tonight. I think what else was I going to talk about tonight? I want to make sure I covered at least the majority of it. Okay, Miller versus Acosta. I'm torn here with something. I can't figure out whether I like Stephen Miller more or Sarah Huckabee Sanders more, because I see. Here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. What's his name? I just went blank on the former press secretary's name. Help me out there, brain room. What's his name? I'll give you a RICO update in just a second. Spicer. Okay. Spicer was horrible. Spicer should have never been in that job. Spicer, his ego far outweighs his ability to handle a room full of people. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, although I'll tell you, the first time I saw her, I was like, oh my Lord, this is terrible. Then the second time I saw her, I was like, whoa, I kind of like where this is going. And then she's gotten better and better and better. Miller, Stephen Miller, I've been saying before Trump got elected, I was saying Stephen Miller should be press secretary. That guy handles an interview like I've never seen anybody handle an interview before. I don't know if it's trained or if it's raw talent, but whatever. I think he and Sarah Huckabee Sanders should be running the communications for the White House. They are communicators, and they don't get pushed around very easily. In fact, when they get pushed, they come back with a bite that I would say is even more stinging than anything Scaramucci or President Trump could handle, because it's not insulting. They literally they target people with knowledge or facts, or they throw it right back in their face, or they just don't play their game. And it takes the sting. It takes the sting right away from the media. So, yeah, if you get a chance, go and watch that today. Stephen Miller freaking slammed him. Jim Acosta is a hack. Jim Acosta is a globalist. He's a communist. He is somebody who's anti-American, anti-constitutional, and you know, if he's playing that act, that's a dangerous act to be playing. But he, you know, I said this a couple weeks ago or last week about one of the other guys on CNN. I'm forgetting his name now. Who suddenly went from entertainment reporter to political reporter and has his own show on Sunday. Stelter. Brian Stelter. You know, I sent out a warning to him. He better watch it. Man, that guy is pushing limits. And I'm not talking about physically watching. I'm talking about his career. He's going to a point where he just looks like an idiot, and he's going to ruin himself, and the American people are going to turn on him. Jake Tapper's, and how Jake Tapper ever got to the position he's in. Most of these people are married to politicians. I don't know if y'all realize that. The nepotism in the media and the politics is ridiculous. There's another thing that I think we should look closely at. If you're related to a politician, you should not be able to have, because of the influence, you should not be able to have a high-level job in either any other form of government, i.e. McCabe in the FBI, or people like these individuals in the media that have family members that are high level in government. But anyway, I kind of got away from Jim Acosta there. Jim Acosta is a loudmouth. He should have been kicked out of the White House a long time ago, along with the rest of the press. I don't know how many times I have to say that. Let me see what you guys have real quick. Yeah. Brian Stelter. Weird freaking guy. I want to play this for you real quick. This was me the other day, and I kind of hold this in high regard. I was proud of myself for this one. Let me pull this up real quick. This was when I was on Newsmax the other day. And by the way, if things keep going the way they are, every Monday I keep getting asked back to co-host with Bill Tucker on Newsmax every Monday. I am hosting for David Webb on SiriusXM Patriot Channel 125 tomorrow. And then I will be hosting also, or not hosting, but I'll be a guest on Sean Hannity's show, as I am every Thursday, with my good buddy Rick Unger. And that's going to be at 5 o'clock, I believe, tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be a busy day, starting out early. And let me pull this up. I want to play this for you real quick, because, listen, folks, I'm no John Podesta fan. And I did this because I think John Podesta, not that it will get to him, but he needs to realize this, and hopefully somebody will smack him with the truth. Let me pull this up here real quick. Skip through you, Bill Tucker. Hold on one second. Stand by. Hold on.
Here's what he had to say over the weekend. Soundbite number 12, guys. If you got it, if you don't, we'll just move on.
Hold on.
To end the chaos, to get some discipline in this White House.
Wait 1 second here, folks. I'm going to make this where you can see it.
And that's going to be exceedingly difficult to do, as Jonathan Karl mentioned, because he's got to get the president to be disciplined, and he's shown no inclination to do that.
No, maybe the president hasn't, but he's appointed Jonathan T. Gillum, a 4-star general.
I thought, I got appointed and I didn't know that.
I'm making you Homeland Secretary, but we'll get to that in a minute. But he did appoint John Kelly. He's a retired 4-star Marine Corps general. I don't think the president has, well, he has a choice. He can do whatever he wants to do. If he doesn't like Kelly, he can fire him. Yeah. But if he wants to bring discipline to the White House, it seems to me that Kelly is his man, and the fact that Scaramucci, after 10 days, just 10 days, is out, is telling.
Well, first off, what I'd like to say is that the American people, I'm going to look straight in the camera when I say this, the American people are not interested in what John Podesta has to say. He is a political hack, and there may be groups of people in Washington, D.C. that want to hear it, but Bill, American people are not interested in what he has to say. I think that's the first thing. Second thing is, and I talk to a lot more people than I'm sure he does. I'm talking about Americans, true Americans. He doesn't have time for that.
He talks to a lot of Russians. We know he and his brother Tony talk to a lot of Russians. Come on, John.
So there you go. That was my message to John Podesta, and I hope somehow, some way he gets it, because I could care less what that guy thinks, and I think the majority of people could care less what he thinks. But because he is one of these power players that we talk about, even no matter how creepy he is, the reason I even said that about John Podesta is because somebody wrote just a second ago something about Brian Stelter being just as weird as where'd my show go there? There it is. Just as weird as John Podesta. And yes, I do believe Brian Stelter is very strange. Okay. What else? All right. I think we'll call it a night. The numbers are low. We got to work on getting these numbers up. And here is the information on Mr. Rico. I'm going to grab him right here. Hold on. Come here. All right. He is feeling... He looks like he's leaning off to the side, but he's not. He just doesn't want to be close to me when I have him up here. He is he's feeling better. He ate today, and he's back on medication. So that's medication to help with his bowel movements and the blood that he had in his stool. And tomorrow he's got a big doctor's appointment where they'll do some tests on him. And Rico wanted to say thank you to everybody that donated money for him. Eleanor, we can't thank you enough, and he wants to give you a high five. High five. There you go. Other than that, he's been ornery, and you know, the way he always is. He likes his neck being scratched like this right here. There you go. How's that feel? All right. He likes that. Oh, yeah, it's good. All right. You want to do the True Zone with me, or you're going to fall? The guy turns his head away. How about you just hang out here for a minute, okay? Let's do it. Let's do this True Zone. All right. Me and the Rico. He looks dead. Stop. Sit up straight, soldier. I'll scratch your neck. All right, here's the facts. Here's the Truth Zone, folks. As I've been talking about for over a year, the American people need to get it together, man. I'm going to keep hammering this home every night. Yeah, he's not happy. He's happy now that I'm scratching him. What I saw in Washington, D.C. last week, I'm going to be reflecting on this a lot, was very telling, because it showed what a few people that show up, how powerful their voice can be. And there were people yelling back there, F you, and making fun and laughing. That, you know what that means to me? It means that they got a response from people. It means that people were listening whether they wanted to or not. Hopefully some seeds got planted. Maybe not. But we won't worry about those people. The fact is, folks, The American people just do not realize how powerful they are. They don't realize it. They think they have to have a powerful leader in office, but they don't. I've seen the power of small groups. I was a SEAL. I've seen what 20 men can do. I've seen what 40 men can do. It's phenomenal. You can't even believe what a focused and trained and highly motivated group of people can do. They can change the world. Now, it's not going to take 60 million people, but it'd be great if we had 60 million people. And it would and is the only way that we will be able to work together and fix this problem. So what I recommend, folks, is that we get our dogs, we get the people that love us, we get the people that are willing to talk, and we make this happen. Otherwise, folks, we're going to be lost. We're going to be lost, and this country is going to be lost. Sorry, I had to put him down. So that's it. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll tell you about Rico's vet visit tomorrow in the show. But again, thank you to everybody for donating money directly to Rico and saying you wanted me to use this for Rico. I will. And then we'll get back onto the GoFundMe and try to get out on the road this month, hopefully. The book is, the second edit is almost done. And we're going to press forward, and I'm going to let you know when that's going to be available on Amazon for pre-order. Which, when that happens, folks, we are going to have to light a fire behind that. Maybe we should start with that as an experiment. Let's see how many people we can get to pre-order this book. Because, let me tell you, it's going to change a lot if we get this book sold, folks. It's going to change a lot. I'm Jonathan Gillum. Rico's down there laying down again. Don't worry, your prayers are being heard. And I can't thank you all enough for what you did. I'm Jonathan Gillum. I'm going to be here tomorrow. You make sure that you come here. Bring 5 people with you. Let's get this started. And I'll see you tomorrow on The Experts. The truth has arrived.
Damn it, I hate when I make these stupid mistakes. I'll see y'all tomorrow on the Experts. And this was not approved by Dave Robinson. Out.